biblical standpoint, from a biblical point of view, that scripture is talking about your treasure being God, your treasure being in heaven. Are you putting your focus on the things of God, or are we putting our focus on material things? The Bible talks about things that the moths can get to, such as, is your focus on cars and houses and land and things that are tangible that you can touch? Or is your focus on heavenly things or on the things of God? Now, when we put that in the sense of our relationships, though, the treasure doesn't follow our hearts. So, if the treasure doesn't follow our hearts, but our hearts follows our treasure, that means whatever your treasure is, whatever you decided to be your treasure, that's where your heart will gravitate to. If God is your treasure from a spiritual standpoint, that's where your heart gravitates to. So, who is or what is your treasure is the question tonight. Who is your treasure? As a husband, as a wife, you guys have heard me many a time say, hey, listen, wives are priority. Husbands are priority. And they are. Of course, it's God first. But in the earthly realm, humanly speaking, no other man or woman should come before your mate. So, the treasure doesn't follow the heart. So, is my wife the treasure? If I look at my wife as the treasure, my heart soon follows. My heart will follow. If you look at your husband, your mate as the treasure, your heart soon follows. Or your heart does follows. So, wherever your treasure, whatever it is that you have placed a lot of value on, your heart follows. That's why a lot of times you can have people that may have bought a new car. And when they buy that new car, instead of the car is a blessing, but instead of a person taking that car and maybe blessing somebody else by giving them a ride over here, or giving them a ride over there, or letting them use it for any emergency or things like that, you get somewhat kind of selfish with it and so protective with it. You're always washing it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and yes, on Sunday. So you got so much value, now you place that car in the category of, this is my treasure. Well, tonight, man, listen, your priority should be, or your treasure should be mates, our mates. If there's ever any doubt, that's a problem. If there's ever any doubt that somebody said a 3, somebody said a 5, those numbers are basically saying that, hey, listen, the one that said a 3, I feel like my mate does not put me as priority. One said a 5. I feel like my mate does not put me as priority. Hey, whenever things like that take place, conversation has got to happen. Conversation must happen because you guys are supposed to be number one, of course, aside, you recognize the voice, huh? Aside from God now, earthly realm, humanly speaking, she is number one. He is number one. So, I want to look at some signs of not being your mate's priority. Some signs of not being your mate's priority. Before I look at those signs, though, I have a few notes here, so I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of read a couple of these notes, and then I'm going to get into the signs there. If something is of genuine value to you, there's no disguising it. Listen, if something is of genuine value, if someone is of genuine value to you, there is no disguising it. What does that mean? I'll give you an example. Have you ever been somewhere and maybe one mate notices that another mate is paying extra attention to somebody else? they really is into another person. They showing a lot of concern for another person. And so the one may think or say to the one that's showing all of this concern for somebody else, you know, you sure was all hee ha ha and all that. You ain't never showed me that kind of reaction or that kind of concern. Why? It goes to what I just said. You cannot disguise or you cannot cover up when you actually have some type of adoration, if you will, for someone else. So if it cannot be disguised, it's going to show up. Anything that you value. That's why the guy that loves his automobile is out there washing it all the time when he should be maybe at work. I don't know. Maybe doing something else. But he's always, because he's putting so much value in it. There will always be action behind or will follow the thing that you value. You will always show some kind of sign or some kind of action toward the thing or the person that you value. Furthermore, it says here, the worth you place on the various things in your life is evident by your priorities. The worth you place on various things in your life is evident by your priorities. That which means the most to you will get the lion's share of your attention and time. That which means the most to you will get the lion's share or the majority of your time and your attention. Your time and your attention. All right, let's look at some of these signs. Before we get into that, anybody got any comments or any questions at this point? All right, we're going to keep moving. That second line there says the treasure doesn't follow our heart, but rather our heart follow our treasure. So if we place our treasure in heaven, that is where our heart or our attention will be. If we place our treasure in our mate, that's where our attention or our heart will be. Look up on your mate as treasure. Are we doing that? Looking up on our mate as treasure. All right, some signs of not being your mate's priority. I am often disappointed. I am often disappointed. Whether that be the male or whether that be the female, I am often disappointed. Now, every now and then, sure, every now and then you're going to have some disappointment because, you know, compromise has to take place. But you should not be disappointed almost every day. No one in a relationship should, and your disappointment is coming as a result of something your mate is doing or is not doing. That's not good. That is a sign of, am I really priority? Am I priority to my mate? If my mate knows that I am disappointed quite often, and the disappointment continues, what will you begin to think? If you are one of the ones that is constantly disappointed with something your mate has done or the lack thereof, what would you think during that time if that was something that was going on in your relationship? And I said if that was going on in your relationship. What would you think? I'll give you an example. Wifey says to hubby, it really bothers me when you leave your dirty clothes on the floor in the bathroom. This is just an example. That really bothers me. But hubby continues to do it. Now, wifey doesn't say it. It bothers me. Man, that thing get on my nerves. You eat up at me every time you leave your dirty clothes on the floor in the bathroom. That bothers me. But hubby hears it, but the action doesn't change. Hubby continues to leave the dirty clothes on the floor in the bathroom. So wifey is disappointed because to her it looks like you could care less about what I'm asking you to head off my disappointment. Let me give you another example, and then we're going to talk about it. Hubby keeps telling wifey, yo, girl, you have got to start hitting your brakes a bit sooner when approaching a traffic light or a stop sign. You got to hit your brakes a little bit sooner than what you do when you're approaching a stop sign or a traffic light. Y'all just telling on y'all. But hubby head keep hitting the windshield because she is not listening. So hubby begins to feel kind of disappointed because sooner than later he going in his pocket. Somebody missed that, but anyway,
we know.
Sooner or later, do you get what I'm saying? He going in his pocket. If she keep on hitting dumb brakes, the way she about to put the flow through the pedal through the flow. So now you got to put all this force on the brake because here go the stop sign right here, but you decide to hit the brake about right here. So now hubby becomes disappointed because every time he get in the car, he like this. But he done said it so many times. Baby, listen, you got to start hitting the brakes. Just lay your foot on the brakes and just gradually hit before you get a stop sign. So that's just an example. But you guys know what I'm saying. Something that you're asking from your mate, but for whatever reason you're not getting it. So you're often disappointed. Now somebody talk to me. If anybody got any comment, y'all talk to me about being disappointed.
And that turns into frustration.
Uh-huh.
And then it turns into anger.
Uh-huh. So it progresses.
Yeah, that'll progress right there.
Yeah.
Right now. That can progress. That particular
Absolutely.
example.
Absolutely.
Progress or yeah, you're right. You ain't driving me nowhere. I got it.
All we go in is that recall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is disappointing when you shared it. When you shared it over and over again, there's no result from it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so, being the wife is not your child.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you whoop your wife? To change. I'm just saying,
no
you
idea.
gotta take a different tactic.
Got to do something different.
And so,
Yeah. If the clothes continue to be placed on the floor, after a while it's no longer a mistake. I get a mistake. Mistakes happen every now and then. Every so often I slip up, I leave my clothes. Every so often I make a mistake. But a mistake that is repeatedly happening now is a habit. Now it's something else. It's no longer a mistake. So, some signs of not being your mate's priority. I am often disappointed. And you know I'm disappointed, but the behavior continues. Okay? All right, let's look at number 2. Not much effort is put into meeting my needs. Not much effort is put into meeting my needs. The question is asked, is the meeting of needs one-sided? Is the meeting of needs one-sided? You guys can fill in this blank. Your mate has said to you on numerous occasions that he or she need more blank. Your mate has said on numerous occasions that he or she needs more blank from you. Now you fill in that blank. But 0 to no effort is being put forth. Not much effort is put into meeting my needs. Give you another example. Fellas, she may express the need for a little more affection. Okay? We know what affection is. She may express the need for a little more affection, but you ignore it. Ladies, he might express the need for a little more sex. I submit, fellas, if the affection would come into play, maybe the sex would be on time. I'm just saying, and that's just an example. She says, I need a little more affection. That's a need. She said, not much effort is put into meeting my need. My need. Just because you don't put the same weight on the need that your mate does, that does not mean it's not important to your mate.
That's right.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You may have more weight on one area as the lady that she needs, and to the man, he may feel like that's really no big deal to me. But because it's her, because she says she really needs this, are we putting in the effort to satisfy the need? And it goes both ways. Men have certain needs as well. When men voice their needs, are the ladies listening? Are the wives listening? Because once again, just because you as the wife may not put the same weight or emphasis on it, that does not reduce the weight that it is that I have on it.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
It doesn't reduce the weight that I put on it.
You gonna put us on the couch tonight. Therapy tonight.
These are just examples. You have to fill in the blank. You want to really show out for your mate. When she or he expresses a need, you want to be there. When you really own it is when you study her or study him to the point where you anticipate the need. When you anticipate the need, you already are there with the solution to the need before she even asks or before he even asks. Anticipate. That comes with, once again, we talk about studying your mate. Ask him or her, what is it that you need that I can improve? Now that's a loaded question right there. Mm-hmm. Have I ever asked you that?
You sure have.
What is it? But be prepared for the answer. Yeah. What is it, lady? What is it, man, that I can improve upon? What is it that I can do to make sure that I'm putting forth the effort in our relationship to satisfy your need? And be ready. Now, when you ask that question, you can't ask that question haphazardly and be playing it. Mm-hmm. You can't do that because you can make some stuff worse. Mm-hmm. When you ask that question, be prepared to hear the answer and then move on that answer. Has anyone in here, you don't have to raise your hand because I already admitted I have. Think about that. Have you ever, as a husband, as a wife, have you ever asked your mate, what else can I do? Is there anything else I can do for you to make sure that I'm putting forth the effort that you need as far as satisfying your needs?
That take a whole lot of legwork to get to the point where you can ask that question. What else is it? Like I already get it. I'm in line with everything. I think I get it down pat. So what else is it? Mm-hmm. That's deep right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Will the other person give an honest answer?
I hope so. I would. Would you?
No matter what it is.
Is anything taboo?
I'm just no.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that person when you ask that question, that your spouse can't say no, we good when we're not. Mm-hmm. Then that doesn't fix anything.
It does not.
That's right.
If there's an issue.
That's right. But
they have.
Are you speaking more from a male point of view when you say that?
Well, yeah, I'm just gonna talk male point of view.
Okay.
So
yeah.
When that question is asked, I guess the person who's asked that question, hopefully they've already girded up their loins and ready for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they didn't just haphazardly just say it out, and already in their feelings. What you want me to do, But to get to the point to ask that question, you better be rooted and grounded and ready for whatever may come.
That's right. That's right. Y'all, we've been doing this for 4 years. I ain't in 101 no more.
Yeah, you gonna meet tonight, though.
Yeah, I ain't on 101.
Yeah.
Hey, 101, that's the beginning.
Yeah.
We ain't in 101.
Yeah.
The Bible talks about the milk of the word and the meat of the word. Man, we in that meat. We in the meat.
Yeah.
So yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That thing is deep. And gird up your loins and be ready.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, when you go to the doctor, something is going on with your head. When you go to the doctor and you tell the doctor what the ailment is, but you tell him it's the stomach, he's going to be trying to prescribe something for your stomach. You're going to go home still with a headache. Head just cracking. Yeah, your head tore all up. So when the question is asked, you got to be truthful. You have to be honest. And I respect what you just said, though. I respect that because, yeah, some people may not be totally honest in answering that. May not be. But are you doing yourself a disservice? You that dude that's at the doctor with a headache telling him you got a stomach ache, though. That's you. When you're doing a disservice, when you do not tell the truth as to what it is that I can do better in, as far as satisfying your needs.
Now, I know from my past relationship, my wife would ask me that question so that the question can be reversed.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Uh-huh.
She would ask me, what can I do to make it better?
Uh-huh.
Just so I can ask her, and that's really the agenda.
Yeah, I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She was right. And she's ready to rinse them first, so when they come around, I can really keep my feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What do you think about? What do you guys think about that, though? Does she? I think she really wants to know your answer, though. But also, I mean, she wants to know your answer, and you need to, or hopefully, will want to know her answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, when you and I, when we discuss this, I mean, we are totally open and honest with each other. We have to be.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be because, like you guys are saying, I still can't have the headache, and I'm talking about my stomach hurting. It's still not solved. So as our marriage progresses, as the years go by, certain needs may change. So I think it's important for every couple to have that conversation with each other, because you may think, hey, everything's fine. I'm thinking everything is fine. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. Yeah. Well, thank you for telling me.
Right.
So it's really it's very therapeutic. It really is.
You find out that something that's a need in 2019 was a need in 2005.
That's right.
Where is coming from?
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Absolutely.
That's it, Pastor.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
We doing good. We did something. We did something move.
And that's when that conversation begins to take place. Absolutely.
That's
All
good.
right. Number 3. We good? Everybody good? Y'all loosen up. Y'all loosen up. Hey, I told y'all, hey, in order to get stronger in anything, now y'all go with me on this. If I'm working out with weights, and let's just say I'm doing bench presses, and I have maybe 100 and maybe 25 pounds on there, and that's all I ever bench. That's it. Now, it'll probably keep me toned, whatever, but if that's all I ever bench, will I ever sustain any growth? Will I ever grow from that? I have to add more weight in order to bulk up more. So, yes, as we continue on, yeah, it get a little tough. But I'll be glad to see when y'all come back, though. That y'all be like, yeah. And see, when last month, I know y'all talk. Everybody was talking to each other, going out the door. I said, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That was good. That was good. That's how we get to know our mate, and we learn our mate. So yeah, it get a little thick. And I remember earlier on, all of us get to be laughing and giggling and having a good time, but now y'all up in here.
Yeah, last month was pretty heavy. That was good. That was good. Vulnerabilities.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, it get a little thicker, but that's all right. All I'm gonna do is say what I hear from God. That's what I'm gonna do. That's it. So hopefully y'all will allow us to come back. Number 3, my mate almost never check in with me. What do we mean by that? My mate almost never check in with me. Now, we're still talking about some signs of not being your mate's priority. If we make contact throughout the day, I initiate the contact via text message, phone call, or email. In our relationship, does one of the spouses, the mate, do most of the initiating to check in during? If you guys were to pull out your cell phone right now and look at text messages and phone calls from the day, y'all just smiling. Look at text messages and phone calls from today, just today. Would we be hard pressed in looking at our phone to be like, you know what? We ain't even touch base at all today. Could be. Or if you look at the last 7 days, is one mate normally the one doing most of the initiating of the check-in? I mean, that's just something to think about. How is it that you can go to work and be at work for 8 hours? Now you know, some people may have jobs, I don't know about in here, may have jobs where it's hard to and that's understandable, where it's hard to use the phone and all that. I get that. But if that's not the case, and you on a job that your phone right there on the desk with you, or right there near you, and you seldom check in with your mate, that's something to think about, because look at it like this. If you don't check on your wife or check on your mate, that, heaven forbid, that person could be gone to glory for 8 hours and you won't even know. No check-in. No check-in. Who does most of the checking in? Just a simple text. Hey, just thinking about you. What's up? How you doing? Y'all remember when I don't know if y'all saw out there on Facebook when I was coming from Chicago. I had made a comment coming from you, lad. You know what I'm talking about. I was coming from Chicago, and Monica sent me a text on my last day. On my last day in Chicago, she sent me a text. And I said on Facebook, I was on the airplane. And I did a little video of the airplane, you know, about the land and stuff. And I made a little comment. I said I was almost about to beat up the pilot trying to get here, trying to fly. I'm about to fly this plane because of the text message that she sent me that morning. The text message was very, very Rico motivating. I can't tell you. It was very motivating. But that's what I'm saying. And see, y'all laughed and we were laughing too. And that's what I'm talking about. Hey man, if you're not checking in, I mean, you don't even, hey, I don't want nothing, just speaking. We do that. I don't want a thing, just speaking. And hopefully, within maybe a few minutes to an hour or so, hopefully she'll respond back. Hopefully, you know. But yeah, who's doing most of the checking in? If one person is always doing the checking in, I got to question that. Why you're that busy? You know what your mate does every day. You know what kind of job they do every day. And you know yourself now, I know you ain't that busy when you can't just send a simple text. Hey, what's up? How you doing? Hey, just thinking about you. Hey, it's Friday night. The lion about to roar, baby. You know, I mean just stupid like that. But anyway, yeah. Send little messages to each other. Any comments on that? Any comments?
So I know if it go too long today, one person will text the other one a call, and the other one, I always know what the other one gonna say. You can't call no.
That's what I'm saying.
I know.
And I always go Roman wrong.
Yeah.
Be like that. I do her like
Right.
that.
That's right.
Because sometimes both of us
Get real busy. Yeah.
All of a
Yep.
sudden it's 4:30.
Sure.
Once you realize, I ain't called her, she ain't called
Right.
me. You can't call.
Right. And the fact that you guys say that is because there's now an expectation. Y'all expect to go, and now it's kind of abnormal when 5-6 hours done pass by and no contact. But now, can all of us say that? Can all of us say that it's an expectation that we check in on each other and not just one person doing all the checking in? Just one person all the time, sending a text. Every time, sending a text.
Now,
Awesome.
in our situation, John does do most of the calling because he's driving.
Okay.
So they have cameras and stuff sometimes on their beds and stuff.
Yeah.
So I usually wait for him to call me because he'll call me if he's just sitting, or he'll call me if he drops off a patient or something like that. So usually, every now and then I'll try to call him and he'll answer and say, okay, it's a good time right now. But for the most part,
He calls.
He's the one that calls.
Right. And see, and you guys have the circumstances that cause that. Now, what if John was in a situation where it did not matter if he's using his phone? Maybe he was doing something else. I bet the frequency of you calling or texting, do you think it would
I
be?
used to call him all day.
And see, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes, there are extenuating circumstances, but if a joker just phone right there.
Yeah.
Like, what the world?
She sent them little characters though.
Huh?
She sent them little characters though.
The little emojis.
Like those, John.
Yeah.
Where she be getting them things from?
Do you,
She get the point across. I know.
that's what I was gonna say. Do you know what they mean?
You know what they mean.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, as long as you know what they mean. There you go. And between y'all.
I like that.
Yeah.
Is that a sign that both of you are allowing the relationship to get dry?
When you say a sign,
Is it a sign?
Because once are you allowing the relationship to get dry?
by not.
By if it doesn't even bother you if there's no contact for 8-12 hours, or there's not much conversation or whatever. To me, that sounds like the beginning part of dry bone.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
But you gotta have a healthy connection.
Yes.
With your mate in order to connect.
Sure.
That's right.
With the mate.
Absolutely. And to add fuel to the fire, okay, you're not calling me, but I glance at your phone through the day and I see where you done talked to this person, you done text this person, and you done text this, but you busy all the time. What is it? Like you said, it's a disconnect somewhere. Are we drying up? What's going on? Why is that? That a conversation needs to take place on that.
Yeah.
Because with us personally, it doesn't matter who initiates. I initiate sometimes, she initiates sometimes. We whoever just initiate. And doesn't it make you feel good? Because think about this. When somebody initiates a text or a phone call or an email, that means they're thinking about you.
Yeah.
How can I text her if I'm not thinking about her? I don't know. I can't text her unless I'm thinking about her.
Oh, but now.
Well, you can mistakenly butt down. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. That's something to think about. Am I the only one all the time checking in? Check on me sometime. Check on her sometime. You never know what's going on. That lets me know that you're thinking about that person. When you check in periodically throughout the day, it lets your mate know, and that's just what I said, that you're basically thinking about them. Any other comments before we move to number 4? Ooh, y'all gonna be all right. Y'all gonna be all right. Number 4. My mate. Now, what we doing? We said some signs of not being your mate's priority. Number 4. My mate doesn't make time for me. We had a whole class, I think, or close to a whole class on neglect. Close to it anyway. Feeling neglect. This is huge. This is huge. There's a big difference between not having time and not making time.
That's true.
There's a big difference between not having time. I'm going to tell y'all something. Thank you. It just fell in my spirit. Fresh. When Monica and I was dating, we dated long distance. We had a long distance relationship in the beginning because I moved to Warner Robins, Georgia. And were you still in Pascagoula, or what part of?
I was actually still in school.
I'm talking about Warner Robins. You were still senior?
Yes.
Because I had just got on with Kmart and they transferred me.
Oh, that's right.
To Warner Robins.
That's right.
So when we first started out and was really trying to get things together, it was long distance. And we made that thing work because we wanted it to work. You make time for what you want. Believe that. You make time for what you want to work. Let me look at this right here. When someone matters to you, when someone is your treasure, you will make time. When you put someone else on hold for your mate, when you let others know that you won't be able to attend certain things because you're doing something with your mate, that is huge. I'm a big proponent, and I really believe I am an advocate for family. I'm big time. I'm an advocate for mates, husband and wives, being together, doing their things together, being a team. You will always make time for what you want to make time for. I don't care how busy you are. I'm in Warner Robins, Georgia. I'm working 1,000 hours with Kmart. I was an operations manager. I'm working all the time. There were sometimes I would get off of work after a 12-hour shift and jump on the road. Am I telling the truth?
You are.
Jump on the road, and I only got 2 days. You make time for what you want to make time for what you value. And that person, it speaks volumes to them when they know. Now, I know he just got off at 11 o'clock, and he didn't even go home. Took his clothes to work, jumped in the car, left Kmart, jumped in the car, came. Now, it took about a 5-hour drive, but he was rolling. He was rolling. You sent me a tape one night, I'm coming home. Remember that little?
I remember.
Y'all had a little single tape and stuff. Said, Big Daddy coming home. Big Daddy coming. But anyway, and that kept me going, y'all. That kept me going. But anyway, you will make time, man. My mate doesn't make time for me. If she is important to you, you'll move heaven and earth for her. If he is important for you, you'll move heaven and earth for him. You make time for what you want to make time for what you value. When folks say, oh, well, I don't have time to do this, or I don't have time to do that, it's not really high on your priority list. That particular thing is not high on your priority list. And if it's not a priority, some things are not priority. We have levels of priority. Some things are up here, other things are down here. But mates should always be up here, always. Now, will there be sometimes that you cannot do this and that? Hey, we're reasonable. Don't get me wrong. We're reasonable, but it shouldn't be where the point where it's all the time. You're disappointing me because you can't make time for us, but you make time for everything else. that which you make time for, you put a lot of value in.
That's
Did you
right.
have something?
Well, we have to be intentional too sometimes. You know, the question was asked of you and I recently about how over the past 4 years we were able to manage this travel ball with all of this traveling between our jobs, between our church duties, everything else that we have going on. And our answer was, you have to be intentional. When that schedule was made, when other things are going on, and you look at your calendar, you have to be intentional sometimes and say, hey, no matter what,
This
is going to happen.
Yeah, we gonna make this.
I don't care whatever changes, where they just got to go without us. This is going to happen on this day.
Absolutely.
And you have to be like that. I mean, if it's important for you. Because otherwise you get lost in everything else, your kids, all of the other outside distractions, and you lose that connection with each other.
That's right.
And it can happen.
Absolutely. Saying no to certain things and to certain people, that's not an indictment. That's not, don't look at that as it's wrong to say no sometimes. You can't fulfill everything. You can't do everything. You're pulled over here, you're pulled over here, you're pulled over here. You got all of this going on. Sometimes you have to say, I ain't gonna be able to make it this time. I ain't gonna be able to make it this time. You have plans with your mate, but something else comes up during the exact same time that you have plans with your mate. I'm not gonna be able to make it this time.
That's right.
Hey, we got this going on. You have to do that sometimes. You do. You have to do that sometimes to make that kind of time for your mate. Comments, questions.
I know we talked about it once before in a different meeting, about sometimes you have a bad blueprint. Because, my dad, he wasn't around. He had to come spend time with us. He didn't pay child support. He lived less than 15 minutes away, but he was just missing in action. So when we were younger, we had the joint account. I was going to work all the time. I was working, had a good job, and my paycheck going to that joint account, and I'm knowing my wife had access to that. I thought I was headed, so I thought I was doing everything I needed to do, and didn't know. There was a lot I didn't know.
Right. You mean as far as the number of hours that you was working?
Right, and not like I thought.
That was
Mariah
enough.
financially was taking care of.
Oh, I see.
Enough,
Yeah,
yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Right.
Yeah.
Not only husband, wife, even with children, time is invaluable. You can't really put a value on time. You can ask a child that. I mean, spend time with a child throwing the football, baseball, or whatever you may be doing, versus, hey, you give them a couple of dollars, but you're not there. So, and I think that's kind of what you was alluding to just now. You cannot put a price tag on time. Having quality time with your mate. Because at some point, time is going to be up down here. At some point. So I love the word Miss Monica used, being intentional. Intentional. Because if you're not careful, you can lose a lot of time. A lot of us probably have wasted. Myself have wasted. You think about some things back in the day, you're like, boy, I sure wasted a lot of time right there. I wasted a lot of time with that. But as you grow and you progress, you advance, you start being more intentional with your time. Y'all have heard me say many a time, don't waste my time. I say that on my job. They know me like, they might put that on a shirt on my back. Don't waste it. They know, don't waste my time is too important to me, as it should be you as well. As couples, your time, you can't get that back. So when she or he say, my mate doesn't make time for me, once it's expired, it's gone. Yeah, it's gone. Anybody else got anything? Yes, ma'am.
I was gonna say, like, when you said, family is important, and as far as time, if you and your mate is going separate directions, most of the time, that becomes an issue.
Yes.
Because y'all are not spending time together as a family, or,
Yes.
at some point, you're probably feeling like you're alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and there are many situations like that.
Yeah.
There are many situations like that. And that's why I believe in meeting of the minds. Meeting of the minds. You sit, mates, you sit with each other. Face to face. I had this conversation just recently. Face to face. I was counseling a young lady. Face to face. What is it that we're doing? Where do you see us a year from now? What's the plan? Are we on the same plan? Do we have the same agenda in mind? What's the itinerary? What does it look like? Where do you see us 2 years from now? The answer to questions like that will let you know that, hey, this person might be going in this direction. The other person is going in that direction. Can we go in the same direction? And if we cannot go in the same direction, maybe this is not what we should be doing. Maybe we should not be doing this together. So we have got to, how can two walk together unless they agree? Pastor did a sermon, we in what now? We're in November. It was sometime this year, I think maybe June, July, or something like that. And I want to say Sandra was involved in the demonstration where I think y'all leg was together. And you said, okay, we going to walk down here. Wasn't that you, Miss Sandra? Now, which leg we going to start with? We're going to start with the left leg. So you talk about what it is that you going to do, what direction you're going in. Now, I will say this now. Sometimes, due to not talking, one person may feel like this is where we're going, and you may feel like this is where we're going. There's still hope in that. There's still hope because no conversation really has taken place. Notice I pulled the chair up. I got her eyeball to eyeball. Let's talk. Let's talk. I want to make sure that we understand each other. We going straight through that door right there. We ain't going through that one right now. We going through this one right here, right? You agree?
Yeah.
This one right here. Yeah, that's the one we going through. Now, how we going to get there? And let's make that thing work. Got to have a conversation.
Gotta talk.
Yeah, gotta talk
about this.
Gotta talk. Good question.
How can two walk together unless they agree?
That's it.
And the agreement comes before the walk starts.
That's it. That's
Because
it.
the goal is to walk together. So if there's no agreement and you start walking, you may not be walking together.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Like, hey, where you at? Where you at? I was walking too. Okay, let's start.
Right.
Let's start.
Yeah.
The goal is to walk
Together. That's it.
together.
Yes.
Roll Tide.
Big bird.
Okay.
We had made plans. 3 or 4 months ago, this weekend. And I realized Alabama, LSU gonna be a big game this weekend. Same plans we made like 3 or 4 months ago. What's that your priority? We're gonna continue. I'm gonna take that game.
All right. Now. There you go. There you go.
Record it and come back and watch it later.
There you go.
But next time you're gonna check your calendar.
Hey, and make sure don't nobody tell you nothing about that game. You don't look at nothing. Yeah.
I think we did great compromises on the couples retreat when it came to that game one year.
Yeah, we
That
did.
was, man, all that stuff has been so awesome for relationships, the places that we've gone, and,
Yeah.
and the things that we've done, like sitting beside those fireplaces and watching those games.
Yes, yes.
And it's funny that the weirdest places were some of the best places.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
This is
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you're right. Yeah.
All right. Last one. I'm always repeating myself. I'm always repeating myself. When we talk, you always seem disengaged. You make me feel like what I have to say isn't important or that I shouldn't have an opinion. You have a hard time conversing with me because you're not interested in what I have to say. Many a times, and I don't mean to be stereotypical, but a lot of times, fellas, stuff escape us. More times with the fellas.
He said it so eloquently. Yeah. Yeah, he did. He really did,
I have
Brian.
to be trying to be politically correct. I don't know who listening. But anyway, many a times the fellas will not hear. All right, that's a little bit better, I guess. Not hear when you're talking to us. And sometimes the wife, and I put it this way because that's what I've been seeing in a lot of some of the things, counseling that I've done in the past. The wife will sometimes feel like I just read, it said, you're disengaged. What I have to say, you don't seem like, you act like it's not important. But it's important to her. And it goes both ways. Sometimes women, the wife will, will not be engaged and not listening. What does that say? What does that say to a mate? You're pouring out your heart to your mate. You had a fantastic day today. You jammed it up today. You even got a promotion on top of that. So you happy. You telling your mate all of this. And you can tell by the mate's response, they really didn't quite hear what you said. How is that person that's got this good news and all hyped and everything, how is that person going to feel? Disappointed. Yeah. Am I not important enough for you to listen to me? Why is it that I have to keep repeating myself? Why is that? Y'all, let's dialogue just for a moment. We got a couple of minutes. Why is it? There may be many. Now, if you're hard of hearing, we need to go get your ears checked. I get that. I can understand that. But if you are just not interested, what I'm talking about is not important to you, that lets me know that the value that you placed on the conversation I'm trying to have with you, the value you placed on it is very low. That does something to the person.
Yeah.
So, why is it that one mate seemingly is always repeating themselves? I bet you, not nobody in here, but I bet you y'all know somebody that's like that in situations like that. I bet you do. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about two right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that they don't care?
Could it be?
That's
Could it be? Could care less what's going on with the person. Don't care. It's not priority to them what you're talking about. How? That's very offensive, in my opinion. That's very offensive.
disrespectful.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. John, you're talking to Sandra, and Sandra is visibly, you can see it. She ain't listening to a word you're saying. How would that make you feel, Mr. John?
It made me feel a certain type of way, but I was just thinking, when you said, another way you can look at that, I'm always repeating myself, if say for instance, we did talk about it.
Okay.
I wasn't satisfied with the resolution of the situation, so
Okay.
in my mind, I'm gonna table it. I'm gonna come back again, and that the person you're trying to go back to, like, they may be saying, well, I don't wanna get it all worked up, we tried it last time, it didn't work, or, you know, they might be trying to just be distant.
Okay.
Right? And so we won't have to go repeat that cycle again, but it's never getting resolved, but to keep down animosity, you may ask me the question, I might change the conversation, try and go somewhere else, I don't wanna go back to where we was at before.
Mm-hmm. But in that instance, though, will it ever get resolved?
No, at some point it gotta get resolved.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying, so I guess so I'm saying, so it won't get heated. I don't know. It's not like really like saying like when you say it again, just keep down animosity. I'm saying it over and over. I still want an answer, you know, hey, we tabled it, but now I'm coming back again with it. And like you said, if I feel as though like if it's not that important to me, I may be looking at somebody that, but like me and Sandra had this conversation before. She said, if I bring it up, it may not be important to you, but it's important to me because I brought it, so we should, you know, address it.
That's
Right.
right.
Right. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. But wisdom, what you just said a few moments ago, timing also. All right, you already had a conversation about it, but it wasn't quite to your satisfaction. So next time, you said, so it won't be any animosity, because you can kind of tell if it's about to go left. You say, you know what? I'm gonna table it. I'm not gonna even worry about it. That's wisdom. That's wisdom. But the issue is still present.
And I still ask you the question.
I'm sorry?
And I still asked you again a question, so I'm repeating myself again, but we ain't getting no resolution.
Right. And as long as you keep tabling it,
Yeah.
it's just gonna
Keep
keep
repeating.
repeating.
Well, a different perspective.
Okay.
I was going to say this on behalf of all of me, but that would be inaccurate. So I have to say it myself. If I continue to engage my wife and try to have a conversation, and she's clearly not interested, and I can tell. And if I say, you listen to me, and if she doesn't, engage me after that, I'm gonna shut down. I'm like, okay, fine. And, and then maybe you come on another subject, talk, and not interested. Okay, that ain't gonna happen too many more times. I'm not saying I'm just gonna stop engaging in conversation.
Sure. I get that.
Okay, obviously.
Obviously, you don't want to talk to me.
Mhm.
Right.
But where do those excited conversations go?
Right. In a case like that, yeah, in a case like that, now the wife though is feeling okay, but you not. You not. Because wifey, for whatever reason, she wasn't into the conversation that you was trying to have. But because you have perceived her to not be interested, and you said that ain't gonna happen too many more times, and say it happened a couple times, she said, so I shut down. So now that you shut down, so are we like moping now? Are we like, you don't know really? Are we moping, or are we like, because for me as a man, from my perspective, we got to settle this. Now, it may not be settled right then, like the timing I was just saying. It may not be settled right then, but like John, I got to come back to it. I got to come back to it, because if it disturbs me to the point where it keeps just nagging at me, eventually I got to come back to it, and we got to talk about this.
But you can't come back to me 2 months later and say you don't talk to me.
Not 2 months.
I'm just saying I'm trying to talk to you for 2 months.
Right. Not 2 months.
I'm just giving us a scenario.
Huh?
They're just giving us just a
I got
scenario.
you. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to kind of add on to what Pastor Gino said, he was saying like, he'd be engaged in a conversation, and he would stop and ask that person he's speaking to, are you listening to me? Sometimes they can repeat exactly what you just
Uh-huh.
instead of just repeating what you said.
Right.
What I said, saying that you heard.
Right, and there is a difference.
Active listening.
Actively listening. That absolutely. If anything, it may make you even more angry. Yeah, you can repeat what I said, but you're not giving me any substance to help me out with what I just said. All you did was repeat what I said. You can train. Well, I ain't gonna go there. But yeah, it doesn't take much to repeat something that someone has said. It doesn't. So, like Pastor just said, actively listening, there's a difference between actively listening and, yeah, I heard you. Yeah.
But it also comes with tone too.
Mm-hmm.
Because a tone can throw everything off.
Mm-hmm.
And just like what she was just saying, if she talking, she cussing, no, I can't answer you. I'm trying to defuse this thing. At the time, and then ain't no way we can talk because you already up here.
You up there.
So we're not going to resolve. But yeah, I heard you, but we need to just talk about it when we calm down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
But the cussing didn't start. The cussing, it got there.
Yeah.
It didn't start right there.
We don't know that. We talking about the time though.
Y'all so crazy. Let me cut it off.
We don't even come here and talk about cussing. But anyway.
I'm gonna go ahead.
That's what I'm saying. Don't start.
Thank you, Becca. Thank you. Y'all so funny.
Yeah, and see, if the gentleman would start actively listening, it won't get to them.
Lord Jesus.
Hey, you know, everybody got bug shots.
I know. So, priority, in closing, we need to make each other our priority. They need to know that, and it's not just lip service. You can't just be talking to your mate saying that, hey, you all of this, you all that to me. No, I mean, just to say that. Yesterday, God blessed me where I had an opportunity to preach at another church. And the name of my subject was The Substitute. That was the name of the subject. In talking about the substitute, I basically was talking about how God Himself was the ultimate substitute for us. What we could not handle, His Son Jesus Christ handled on our behalf. In our relationships, we have got to make sure that we don't serve or do lip service. If Jesus would have said, well, let's talk about me getting on the cross. Let's negotiate this thing. Let's just for a moment, we're going to just talk about this. Lip service is no good without action. It's good to tell you what I'm going to do, but if I don't move on the action, if I don't move in the direction of what's coming out of my mouth, what good is it? So when Jesus Christ went to the cross, He said He was going to go to the cross. It was predestined for Him to go to the cross. And He actually moved on that. He actually went to the cross. So when we tell each other and talk to each other, it's no good to just say those things. We have got to provide action and let our mates know, you number one. You number one. I'm number one. That's it. She just told him, you number one. Look at it. Oh, you're number one.
She just said, you know what she
Oh,
said.
do you want to share? You don't want to share, do you?
I love my wife.
All right. Okay. But yeah. Priority. We should be priorities, man.
Yes.
That's all. We should be
Yes.
priorities to our man.
Amen.
All right. Anything else? We good? Everybody good?